What if there isn't 100 different cases that can be attributed to each predator? What if there really are thousands and thousands of predators out there, and an isolated one-time killing isn't the anomaly we think it is? It is a dark and stormy night, and I am sitting outside yet another doctor's office. I am wondering about predatory killers, just one-time, one-off killers. We are really not that far into the sciences of understanding the way killers work. We still have most of the founders of forensics, the founders of profiling, still alive or recently passed. It's a new science, and what we know about serial killers comes exclusively from what we've learned from those who have been captured. But genetic genealogy keeps bringing forward these apparently one-time killers. People who never did it before, and as far as we know, never did it again. And I'm starting to really wonder if that might be an even more common occurrence than the serial killer. I've always wondered if they cleared the backlog of rape kits and took the DNA of killers and violent predators as they're convicted and actually put everything into the system, would we catch everyone? You got to think most men aren't monsters. Every predator out there could have hundreds of victims. And we have genetic evidence that could lead to a lot of answers if it were properly tested. But now I am starting to wonder if there is something in some, particularly men, but possibly women too, that makes them able to do this, able to kill. I'm not talking about domestic violence. I'm not talking about bar fights. When things get out of hand, where someone kills either unintentionally or because they just disregarded life and took a chance that they should have known could result in death. I'm talking about that animalistic, predatory thing that makes serial killers different than a military veteran or a gangbanger who may have killed more people. We have this arbitrary 3, sometimes 2, to qualify someone as a serial killer. We separate them from spree killers, from mass killers. Sometimes I see family annihilators listed as serial killers, but they're not. It's supposed to be 3 instances with breathing room in between. So I think most family annihilators don't fit into that, even if they did take more than 3 lives. But what if grandpa killed some woman in his 20s? If your next door neighbor is hiding a secret about a body buried in his backyard? If your own husband may have that in him to take a life? What if there isn't 100 different cases that can be attributed to each predator? What if there really are thousands and thousands of predators out there, and an isolated one-time killing isn't the anomaly we think it is? It's just something I'm thinking about, I'm wondering about, and if you have any thoughts on it, I would really love to hear them. I think it is important to acknowledge that we are still new to the science of understanding predatory behavior. Psychology itself is relatively new, and profiling has not always proven itself to be as accurate as we would like to think. That's said without any disrespect or shade on the men and women who developed it. They are working with what they have, or things that didn't even exist that they realized they could pull together to try to gather as much information as possible. I respect the science, I respect the effort, I respect asking the questions and pursuing the answers. But the nature of science is to evolve and to continue learning. So I don't know why we would expect profiling to be an exact science in a decade. And there really hasn't been a ton of growth since that first decade. It showed tremendous insight, and a lot of people just decided, okay, this is the new tool we go by, and left it at that. And I don't think that that's enough time. I don't think it's just not enough. When the source of information is restricted to the predators who were caught, you're missing the entire world of the predators who got away with it and what they think and how they behave. And it's possible it could be very different. We need to get every single piece of evidence that exists tested and into a database so that we can match up cases, and hopefully we can use genetic genealogy among, simpler, just basic police work. If we just link these crimes, there's a chance to find connections where police work itself would be able to narrow down who the killers are. And if not, then we've got Parabon and Othram and incredible work in genetic genealogy. Even if it's 100 years ago, if you have all of these cases from 1924 that were unsolved, even if you can't find that killer, you might link the cases. It just makes sense. That can lead to answers. And it's worth it, even for old cases. It would be crushing to find out that my great-grandfather had killed someone, but I'd want to know. I'd want the family of whoever he killed to know what had happened. I think every Jane Doe, every John Doe, they all have the right to their name back. And I think that killers need to be identified. And we are so on the brink of being able to do that if we invest the time and funds into it. And it's a great thing. It's a fantastic time to be alive if you're into this kind of science, but it is really frightening when I see case after case where this genetic sample only comes up once that anyone can find. That this person in a predatory event killed someone, got away with it, and either never did it again or never left evidence again. And prior to DNA testing being well known in the public, there was really no reason to try to avoid leaving DNA. So a lot of old cases do have it, and if properly maintained, it's still testable. We have genetics going back thousands of years in mummies. So what do you think? Are there a higher number of predators out there than we generally assume? Do you think someone can just grab someone off the streets or stalk them, take someone's life? To me, that seems like such a big thing, that even if I did it in self-defense or in an accident, it's something that would haunt me. I guess for some people it could be akin to hunting. I know of a few people who are very interested in hunting wolves. That's kind of a thing. I don't really get it. If you're not going to eat it and it's not threatening you, the only reason to kill something is mercy. So the whole idea of going out to hunt wolves or game animals, it just doesn't make sense to me. But I think whatever the thing is in someone's brain that makes them feel adrenaline and afterwards pride, even though they're using equipment that would give a toddler an edge over an animal. It's not really something to be a personal accomplishment. Maybe if somebody wants to jump in and wrestle a rhinoceros, then it's a little weird and I'd have some mixed feelings, but I would consider the person pretty damn tough. But no, shooting wolves outside of their den full of newborns, that's not a tough guy to me. But maybe whatever thread that is in some people's minds, that I don't want to limit this to men versus women, because we know women can be violent, women can be predatory, and women obviously hunt. But this concept of masculinity that is entwined with the hunt and the kill, it could lend itself to some men randomly killing at some point in their lives, maybe to prove something to themselves. But it's also hard to believe people would be able to keep quiet about that. People are notoriously unable to keep secrets. But as long as only one person knows, that's all you need. It's just something I'm thinking about. I hope everybody had a good holiday, and stay safe. Always, don't drink and drive. Find a designated driver, be a designated driver, get a cab, get a ride share, make some kind of arrangement if you're going to be drinking. There is no excuse to drink and drive. All right? Stay safe, listen to your instincts, and maybe keep an eye out on the people around you. I'm going to feel a lot better if we ever get a fully done database in my lifetime. And of course, they'd always be adding to it, but at least get the backlog of violent offenders locked in. It seems likely that if you have parking lots are not the best place for this. So Megan True Crime is supposed to be coming out with her little wedding special tonight, although it's already the next day in Scotland, so I don't know if that's happening or I missed it. Okay. All right. And I lost my thought. It just fluttered away.